All right, I think we're live, and welcome to the show here. We're broadcasting from, well, two locations, one in the south of France and here in Toronto from my home studio. It's going to be a little different show today. We're going to do a show around focused on telecom, which is a topic which a lot of the viewers are going to be familiar with. This is looking at some of the latest and greatest technologies coming out of Ericsson. We're joined today by Ulf. He's a senior, I think, SVP over at Ericsson. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks very much, Rob.
So why don't we jump in? Tell me a little bit about who you are and what you're doing over there.
All right. I have the big pleasure of being here in southern France, in Nice, to attend something that we call the TM Forum. It's a conference, actually, where about 3,000 people gather together from the telco industry, from vendors and from operators, mainly operators, discussing what the IT platforms of the future are to manage large telecom networks, or what charging systems of the future will look like. Should people pay their bills or in the normal way, or is it going to be apps? Is everything going to go forward to become like an iTunes store, even with your telco subscription and so on? That's what we're really doing here. My role in Ericsson is that I am head of a business area that is called digital services. And digital services, Ericsson's digital services, is all those platforms that we provide to operators all over the world that wants to buy OSS, operation maintenance systems, as well as charging systems and so forth. So that's basically, in a nutshell, why I'm in southern France and why this is a great meeting we're having here.
Well, I'm very jealous of you being in southern France. I'm in rainy, cold Toronto, Canada. When I saw the conference and the location, I'm like, oh, I can't believe I don't have the opportunity to join you in person. But I'm actually really excited to learn more about what you guys have been doing. I actually, before our call here, I had a chance to take a look through some of your latest innovations, and it looks like you guys are doing really some interesting things in a whole variety of different spaces. So your group is focused on sort of digital transformation, innovation related activities. One of the things that caught my eyes is around this sort of digital services and the launch of sort of this idea of dynamic orchestration. Maybe you could tell me a little bit more about what that actually means and the value prop around that.
Right. So what is happening really is that telecoms as a sector is under this huge transformation. Everybody knows today that the smartphones are changing the world. You're able to basically do everything on your carry pocket computer that the smartphone has become. The value of this product is increasing by the day as new apps are being added, and the actual performance of those apps are more and more important for everyone's private life. We all know that we're doing banking services, we're doing all kinds of things over our phones. In Sweden, where Ericsson is from, actually, we even do our tax declaration over mobile phones nowadays. So I think this platform is beyond anything. And today we're close to about 4 billion smartphones in the world. But what that drives also is the increased focus on performance, all the time performance. And that means that telecom networks needs to develop in that way as well. And what we see then is that a kind of IT platform, you could say, on top of networks that are able to orchestrate that performance is more and more needed. And that's really what this dynamic orchestration is about. It's related to the different services. And we can, with different services, create different performance in the network as they are logged on and as they are being executed on top of the network. And that's why these kind of platforms are picking up fast. There is a very big interest from telco operators to be able to supply services that are a little bit different, depending on if you are streaming a YouTube channel, for example, or if you are actually just waiting for an email to pass through the queue and reach to your device. So that's the kind of technology that Ericsson is investing in and that we are showcasing here at the TM Forum in Nice.
I saw you guys recently at a conference, and I was looking through some of your presentations, and one of the things that struck me was this sort of robotic management for data centers. It looked like it was like moving the servers around and plugging in. It was actually really intriguing. Would you maybe tell me a little more about what that is and what you're doing in that space?
Well, as you all know, also telecom networks are built in a data center way today. You need a center in the middle where the compute power is very big and where you can run all the different applications. In the past, we've always delivered nodes and servers with their own applications on it. Now it's moving to the virtualized world where we can use any kind of processing core to run those applications on. And therefore, we are also building servers like that. The servers are independent of the applications. Mm-hmm. And the data center infrastructure, the one that you saw, was a model or a demonstration of how we could change out different hardware pieces by using robotics. It may seem like a little bit science fiction or something from a Hollywood movie, but it is actually reality when it comes to many operators thinking about building unmanned large data centers that can actually have that kind of infrastructure. We're not supplying that solution to the market yet, but it is something that was used as an example to demonstrate capabilities that we're building within Ericsson.
So let's talk in regards to software. There's a lot of talk in the telecom industry around NFV. I think the NFVI specification, the adoption has been, well, I think it's starting to pick up, but it's been limited thus far. What are some of your thoughts on NFV and related technologies?
So network function virtualization is a concept that was created to really mirror what's happening in the IT industry. We understood that many operators wanted to build similar environment where the applications were detached from different hardware pieces, etc. At the same time, we've had a tremendous development in hardware over the last years, which makes that hardware is becoming very, very high performing, but can be general. So it's been coincided with our software investments. If you look at as a vendor, as Ericsson, we are spending the majority of our R&D investments on software. So for us to be able to supply that software in separated applications on top of a cloud infrastructure is kind of a dream. We came out very early with many of our products virtualized into the market, but it's turned out that in the operator segments and the operator market that we're operating in, the system integration costs and the willingness to create too many variants of this has actually slowed down the deployment. So we have seen a slower uptake than we had anticipated in NFV. In other words, taking telco applications such as voice or message sending, etc., and being able to put them on a total cloud environment. That has happened slower than we anticipated. What we see now with the NFVI initiatives and several other initiatives on interoperability between the different stacks is that we see that this is becoming more standardized, which we think will lead to a higher pickup. And in fact, Ericsson is already engaging in several new engagements just this year to build big NFVI installations that are taking care of what telco core networks used to do in the past.
So I've gotten a couple of messages on Twitter, so I'm going to apologize for anyone who's had some audio issues with this. Also, the audio seems to be coming through fine here. So again, I apologize to any viewers who might be having some technical difficulties. We will repost this after as well. It's, you know, the technology within the telecom space is certainly one that's rapidly evolving, and I find it interesting to see sort of what software and cloud and related technologies have had in terms of defining the sort of future and sort of the enablement of these sort of dynamic environments. You know, what are your thoughts on some of these other adjacent technologies that seem to be emerging? Things like, you know, VR and sort of haptic controls and things like that. What are things that you guys are seeing that are, again, sort of an enablement because of these sort of technologies?
Well, I think I can give an example immediately of technologies that would make sure that these audio problems that are that you apologize for wouldn't happen. And that is really the kind of guaranteed services that we're working with in something that we call 5G. So 5G idea is that we would have both in the air interface, in the radio interface that is handling all the mobiles, but also in the transport layer have an immediacy and a guaranteed service level that would avoid jitter or avoid any other delay problems on long lines that are connecting base stations to a core network, and to be able to do that in a more efficient way. And that's what 5G is about, and we're just, as you know, standardizing that. That also relates to your other question around haptic, for example. Many of these technologies would only be able to exist if the transmission lines and if the compute power was very close to where it's being executed, or if it was in an environment where latencies and delays would be extremely low. And I think the idea of deploying that on a larger scale is absolutely mind-boggling. We would see totally new types of applications that can be done. Even the mobile phones, the smartphones that I spoke about, the 4 billion smartphones, will eventually end up being very fast in terms of response. If you touch something, it happens. The only place I know where if you touch something, it happens is in the movies. I'm always fascinated by going to Hollywood movies, and they search for something and the answer always comes directly, etc., etc. In reality, it doesn't always do that. So I think those kind of technologies is what 5G is built up on, which is responding to haptic and these kind of experiences. It's needed to have networks that can actually execute this. It's not so much in the device. One way to also do it, I would just follow on there because I think it's so cool technology, and that is that one way to also do this is you can distribute instantly the applications through a network. In other words, the base station that is closest to you could be the one that is actually executing the app. It's not in a cloud that is 500 miles from there, because then you have latency. So those kind of technologies is what we're working with.
So it's about latency, it's about speed, it's about working on the edge, bringing, I think people like Dave McCory mentioned this idea of data gravity, bringing the compute to the user rather than the data to the compute, those sorts of ideas. Right. And so 5G is more than just bigger, stronger, thicker bandwidth.
It is, and it's also storage. And I mean, one cool idea or concept we played with within Ericsson was that we did, we said, why don't a person who's walking around with a smartphone have his entire memory with him moving in the network? So when you move from one base station to another, the entire memory, all your pictures, everything you have, all your emails, whatever you have, because it's from a storage point of view, it's not so much. So that could easily be transported together with the user. Those kind of concepts, but that will make, of course, accessibility extremely much faster, which then would drive usage and would drive new applications, which needs that kind of speed.
Oh, it's really intriguing, the things that are happening in this space right now. I think the transformation, this idea of digital transformation, things that are taking 10 years before are now happening in 2. The ever increasing speed of technology is just almost mind-boggling. Now we're starting to see intelligence and things like AI starting to come into the equation. What are your thoughts on the sort of emergence of this sort of what people are calling artificial intelligence?
Well, Ericsson does a lot in that, because the algorithms and the technology that we're using in our radio networks, and as we are a leader in mobile networks in the world, we do a lot of machine learning and intelligence in terms of making these networks more learning from experience, understand, because radio waves at the end of the day is like a living animal, right? So it's something that is really alive, and the only way you can really master it is by using new types of technology that can learn from experience of different situations with mobile phones in a certain structure or whatever. Those things keep changing. So there we're using it already. Where AI starts to be even more interesting is in the area which we're doing with right here in Nice, in this TM Forum conference, because here we're talking about OSS system, operation and maintenance systems for large telco networks, where we can see that predictive maintenance and understanding even threats, as you know, cybersecurity is a major issue right now. We had Thursday and Friday's event crawling all over the world and hampering services, at least a lot in Europe. And I think those kind of things can be predicted by using an AI kind of technology that can see patterns in when they start, to be able to avoid and disarm some of these evil events. So we see a lot of use of this technology. We're working with that. We have actually, for example, a platform for using analytics for security solutions for operators that are running big networks, and where they can detect threats like that earlier. Then again, I mean, I am also as a CTO of Ericsson, I'm also worried sometimes about the misuse of AI. So I just would have to bring it up last, that we don't want to make sure, or we want to make sure that we don't end up in some sort of Terminator scenario. But I think we're pretty far away from it. And if we use technology right, it's actually not the technology that's the problem, it's how we use it. So let's use it right, and let's make sure that it serves mankind.
It's funny. There's always the discussion of Terminators and the negative. You know, for me, I see positive. I guess I'm an optimist. I think the opportunities around artificial intelligence to improve our lives, to make us more effective, efficient, you know, at what we do, are greatly more opportunities than the ones that are going to enslave us or whatever. So, you know, you're sounds like you're working on some great things. Where can our viewers learn more about what you're doing?
Well, of course, we have our website at ericsson.com, where you can go in and see a lot of the news of what we're building and doing. I know we're running a special now on also what we're doing here at the TM Forum in Nice. And there are, of course, many ways to follow us that you can find in there. I think the cool thing with what we're doing now is becoming so software centric, and we are present all over the world. We have customers in 180 countries, and we're operating in 140 of them. We are as well developing all over the world. So we have development sites all over the world, and we have a number of corporations with universities and other research centers, which I think there's a lot of engagement with our company, which we're very excited about. We live from high tech, and we need to be there, and we need to be first on many of the new waves that you've just mentioned here in your show.
Well, I'd like to join you next time you're in the south of France for sure. Not possible this time, but I hope you get a chance to, you know, sit on the beach, enjoy some sun in between all your various activities. Thanks again for giving my viewers and myself the opportunity to learn more about what you're doing. I think it's an extremely exciting area. I agree. Software is eating the world. Software is definitely the place to be. But you know, the intersection of these technologies that you described are fascinating, to say the least.
It is. Thanks a lot for having me.
Hey, no problem. And we'll talk. I'd like to have you on the show again soon. And for everyone that's tuned in, again, I apologize for the people who tuned in on Periscope. We had some audio difficulties, it would seem. What I will do, I will be rebroadcasting this for the folks who missed the first 5 or 10 minutes on Periscope. Otherwise, if you'd like, you can tune in on YouTube. The YouTube video apparently was fine, so check out the YouTube live channel. And thanks again for everyone who made this happen. Enjoy the rest of the conference. And Ruben, signing off.
Thank you very much.